It's February 25th, 2022. I'm watching these people as Kiev is attacked and as they're leaving. It says that the refugees are fleeing west from Ukraine into Poland. And I'm listening to the words of one of the women. She says the most interesting words because I've watched what the newscasters speak on, but then to hear from the actual victim or casualty, again, just labels for how the whatever. And she says something about she didn't want to quit her country and she didn't want to cross her country. I have no idea what that means. I hear the words. I could sit here and theorize, but that's because they are, I don't know, they are in a totally different state of mind than what I have going on in New York. In my subservient state, it is like a completely different war mixed with Star Wars, minus some of the on the field like aggressors, but it's more Star Wars from the invisible, and then the visible is from I don't know where they're pushing in from, or filling up from. It gets really confusing how to use these words as like a katana or like a swords. I mean, the word swords is a spoken word. That's how you spell it.
One girl forced to leave her mother behind, now all alone in a new country.
Yeah, I cried a lot.
Did you? You cried when you crossed in?
Yeah, I was forced to quit my country, and I didn't want it. It's like, if I want to cross my country, it should be my decision to quit.
To quit my country or to cross my country. I do not understand that. That does not make any sense in the state of New York or as a member of New York with the public education system that I have been in and with the paper that they gave through the school system just recently. My 4-decade update, 7 for Linda. Oh, somebody moved it. But it's only a few pages as far as a document. It's not like a book or a guide given as to how to interact. Then there's I don't know, have a word for this. And then they have the same heraldry or ancestral flag here. I saw it was a group that was in Manhattan. I only saw it through televised prompter. And that was interesting because the message that they gave, and the ones in New York, the subservients in New York, said that they wanted to seize the assets of the oligarchs because they are money laundering. I am not, I mean, those are the tangible assets, but the money laundering, I'm pretty sure, happens at a crypto level in the ETF range well before it hits like tangible residence. And I'm pretty sure if your countrymen have real estate and tangible assets, you don't want to just go and sell residency because you don't know what's available to buy it. And that's even what other oligarch is going to be available to buy it. That's the question I really didn't want to have answered. In these really, I mean, like tectonic plate shifting moves in power grabs and high-flying colors and, oh my God, rigor mortis setting in. It is like, and can't breathe. That's what I'm most concerned about. And here they say, I mean, again, I wouldn't, unless they came out like for this. See, there's a bunch of different heritages or heritage that get parades and they get their own day and there's like a city something or other. I have never even heard of the Ukraine community the entire time I've been here. It's not normally on the news. Not that I'm sitting in front of the news either. But it's not a colored flag that I've ever seen before this happened. And I wouldn't, I'm finding out now that they say that there's a large population somewhere in, I think he said East Manhattan. But again, not places I frequent, being all by myself and as an only child. It's, I mean, you're not supposed to take candy from strangers. You're not supposed to go out and, like, when you're a single woman alone. I mean, like, these were good fatherly advice from when men cared. I just don't know what happened.
Many with family and friends still in their homeland, the invasion almost more than they can bear. Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett live in the East Village with more. NJ.
As our day, the Ukrainian consul general told community leaders here in the East Village today that he is optimistic that in one way or another, sooner or later, his nation will prevail. A rare note of optimism, Dave, in a bleak moment in history. It is something that Ukrainian New Yorkers needed to hear.
Beneath the elevated line in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, and inside the tenements of the East Village, Ukrainian New Yorkers are facing the uncertainty of war from 5,000 miles away.
Last night was the most horrific for Kiev since 1941, when it was attacked by Nazi Germany and Russian missiles now dropped on civilian heads.
The Ukrainian consul...
Do they realize what moved into Brooklyn on this side of Subservient? Are we really going to go back to what was told was the intelligence back then, since the last, I don't know, few decades haven't really turned out very well? I feel like I'm personally in the dark ages. I mean, it's like all filtered history and information. I don't really have any reliable source. And I'm looking around what calls itself U.S. I don't, and where I'm standing, I'm calling at the moment USA. But that's like a subservient to more important whatever. For whatever.
General briefed community leaders today at a press conference on 2nd Avenue. The bombing, the shelling, he said, has intensified. Casualties are rising as the Russian army closes in on the capital city. But he insisted that the Ukrainian military is fighting back.
With your support, with our strong stand, I'm sure We will win, we will overcome.
Ukrainian New Yorkers have taken to the streets this week, demanding an end to the invasion. Many have insisted that the United States do more to help end the crisis. Today, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine suggested that the city of New York has a role to play.
We need to be part of the sanctions regime because this is a city which for decades has provided safe harbor for the assets of oligarchs, of a kleptocracy who have particularly had...
Did he just say kleptocracy? As in, like, they're kleptomaniacs? Like, they just take other people's stuff and, like, redivide it and, like, redistribute it? No. Humans? Really?
a predilection to buy ultra high-end luxury apartments as a way to launder their money, and that we need to seize those assets, seize those properties now.
Now, if they're laundering the money, are they making, like, long-term investments in their own people, but elsewhere? For a much larger purpose, like management and, I don't know. I mean, there has to be at some point boots on the ground in order to interact with the weather, the climate, and give feedback to the main function and the main man who's running that operation, considering it's the most important, because without our habitat and without our planetary, like, pressure system and electricity grid being correct, it's awfully hard to live anywhere.
How much legal authority the city actually has when it comes to sanctions is still not clear. If it were to happen, it would be welcome news to many in this community who believe that the United States can and should be doing more. Live in the East Village, NJ Burkett, Channel 7.
Yeah, and again, watching what was going on inside of the UN meeting that I don't have an invitation to, I'm really starting to see where the favor is being shown on a lot of different fronts. And it's really frightening that there's not more consistency in helping one's own subservient population from kleptomaniacs that have figured out some system somehow, somewhere. Would be nice. There is an overlaying job that still has to be done, even when the monopoly pieces aren't just whatever. Oh, and then there's a new movie that's coming out. It's called No Exit. It's some kind of thriller. It's just... I feel like the great beyond is just sending me messages at each and every place I look. Now this is interesting. Wow, that Ukraine, subservient elsewhere, subservient here, following up on the two populations, and how both sides of the war are updating. I'm listening. In the whatever, the U.S. court system, the President, Joe Biden, I don't know how he chose this woman or this career, but he's putting someone on that really important seat that matches the voice that's in the quiet UN meetings that I had no idea was there. It seems to me to be these quiet expansion projects, and then the redistribution of pawns in this kleptomaniac with precision that is really frightening.
votes. Jackson would be replacing longtime Justice Stephen Breyer,
So that's who was there. He's outgoing. And watch what they're planning on putting on incoming.
mentor of hers, who she clerked for years ago. Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Johnson is live at the federal courthouse in Newark with more on this groundbreaking pick. Anthony?
Yes, Sade, despite all of the strife that is taking place overseas, democracy was on full display here in the United States.
Democracy for whom? I'm pretty sure Kiev doesn't feel like their democracy is whatever it was, and I know my democracy in York or New York feels like it's been on the fritz. I don't know, it blinks on and off. It's like really difficult to decipher what the humans meant and what they're participating in, because I see now a huge component of changeover. There's a lot of union jobs, there's a lot of federal jobs that have all been almost assigned strictly to what now has a seat on the federal or on the U.S. court system. That's frightening. And how does this stuff get done? And how does one defend its own democracy when
on a campaign promise?
A campaign promise? Campaign for what? That's what I don't understand.
The president made the promise 2 years ago today.
Now, was he campaigning against democracy? Was he campaigning for someone else's democracy? That's what I don't understand.
That if elected, he would select an African-American woman to serve on the nation's highest court.
But we're North America. How can you have we're European Americans and we're North Americans. What I don't understand is how you now have this gigantic gap and this whatever movement moving in a whole new and replacing oneself. I mean, I'm watching this unfold and I'm just like, what did you do? This poor woman got attacked overnight in the subway station. She got hit in the head with a hammer. I mean, frightening headlines. And the woman that got hit has a very interesting name. I've heard that name before in some whatever that I listen to with when Tia Frio talks. I'm like, wait, what? But some things stick. One of my favorite, like I don't have many favorite human experiences. I just don't. But one of my favorites between New York to Virginia is a place that I visited briefly. I mean, it's a Victorian haven. It's like the coven delivered angels and put together one town in New Jersey called Cape May. I mean, it's a Victorian classic, like when houses were built to like perfection, but in a poorer area. I mean, it's not like Basque or Renaissance or Venetian, but it is so beautifully they call it the Victorian era. And they call them gingerbread houses. Anyhow, so of course I recognized the name. It said something about Cape May. The zoo closes bird exhibit over concerns about avian bird flu. Now, while I was there, Tia Frio in rare form drank so much. You want to talk about bad chaperone? I could have been tied up and taken somewhere, and really bad things could have happened. He was so obliterated. So we walked around with a couple of, I think one of them said he was from the Coast Guard, which I appreciated him staying with me, and I said so several times as like a real chaperone, because I didn't know where I was. And then their friend started getting sick, so they left. And I was not obliterated. I did not drink nearly whatever Tiafrio had done. And then Tiafrio wanted to walk around. Now I'm stuck on like babysitting duty, and he starts screaming, "Bitch! Bitch!" And I'm like, he's like, "Wait up for me!" This is the level of human you've left me with. I mean, he's just not my cup of tea, and I'm not a big fan. Never was. I mean, in the beginning, the human stories were amusing or disturbing. I gathered my whatever intelligence of whatever he had coming out of his whatever. But then watching the machine change in his storyline like a kaleidoscope and then fractured and then didn't tell the same story, it was just like, I need to get out of this. Again, he's the second one that I have ink with, so the letters are on file in case people just decide to disappear again. I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I don't. To protect myself. But anyway, so I just find it interesting about avian bird flu, because as far as I know, he's a nothing special. And he's under 6 foot, so that should tell you right there.
The zoo says it has not yet seen any cases yet, but they are quarantining birds out of an abundance of caution. Poultry farms on Long Island are also on high alert for the virus. That's after a flock of 8 backyard chickens tested positive for the bird flu. Officials have been performing additional tests in neighboring areas to determine if the flu spread.
Coming up on Eyewitness News first at 4, we're staying on top of the latest developments out of Ukraine.
Today is the service for his father. He didn't leave New York to go to. And whatever.
Story of a group of strangers who seek shelter during a snowstorm. There's no cell service, and that's a problem, as it turns out. Now this novel has been brought to life by a skilled ensemble featuring one of our best actors. Look at Dennis Haysbert, and you feel safe, solid, and secure. Here he plays a former Marine, and that makes sense, right?
You're gonna have to figure that one out for yourself.
But even for his resourceful character, there is no exit, which is what makes the film by that name unique in his long career.
That's the first for me. It's kind of a mystery thriller, and that kind of plays like a Twilight Zone episode.
A young woman has...
Interesting. Twilight Zone is a mention on people. I don't watch TV, but I've caught the theoretical about like going through some kind of time warp in a black and white episode, and then the reality alters itself in some like psychological thriller, but like not damaging necessarily, because then you turn it off. It's on a remote. And then there's, of course, the Twilight Saga, which is the love story between the vampires, and then the werewolves are mentioned in there as well. And then this is what he's equating that to, which I find interesting. I'm like, subservient New York. It is like living here, looking for signs of life.
Escaped from rehab and gets stranded with folks she doesn't know at a remote visitor's center during a snowstorm. All this leaves her wondering who's friend and who's foe, while we try to guess right along with her. Seems a 10-year-old girl has been kidnapped. So then the question becomes, who is involved and how deeply? The clues pile up along with the snow.
Any of these.
Oh my god, it's like 1940. Let's see, Lynn arrived in 1948. She was born 48, 49, something like that. Straight through to 1978 in Subservient, New York. Holy crow, it's like watching the theoretical come to life on the big screen.
These people could have done.
Filming the movie, the members of this cast got extraordinarily close. That's not always the case, is it?
No. No. There's always, there's always one apple. There's always one, maybe.
Interesting reference. I'm in what's referred to as the Big Apple, and sometimes they call it the Empire State.
Two. That, oh my God, really? But in this cast, it was love at first read.
No Exit was originally made for theaters, but it is the type of small picture that might get lost amid all the big blockbusters. So it makes sense. The thriller is streaming now on Hulu, which is owned by the same parent company as this station. No Exit is a taut and tense and tight thriller. There is not one wasted second in this movie. The picture totally engaged me and kept me guessing on the way to a terrific finale. It is streaming now, Dave and Sade.
Yeah, this is like a pastime with us. When are you streaming? Now we got another.
I haven't seen it. I don't know how to stream. I don't know what that means. So it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. There's always that paradox and that paranormal aspect of real life events. People are like, so what does it feel like? And then you have to try to describe your exact situation and the emotions that you might be lacking so someone else can visualize it in a coded message of some sort. I mean, I don't think that that's a normal human operation, but it happens at co-ops. However, time and space broke, and the galaxy is just like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like feels like the solar system is broken just before galactic level, and the instrumentation is off. I know I'm personally off as like a anatomic in the diatomic for subatomic. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's February 25th, 2022.